Meditation. Meditation is another all-time strategy proven to work miracles. A leader that does not take time to meditate is headed nowhere. Taking time to reflect will give you the insights, the impetus, and the gut feelings you require in making some decisions. At times, the leader's decision will be guided by instincts only and not the advice he gets, not even the logic. This can only work well for a leader who understands how to tap into the infinite intelligence. This is how Henry Ford, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln, Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama, and all highly recognized leaders built their success in secret, in hiding, meditating. Such ideas may go against the common wisdom and beliefs, but that is just fine. I have always run into troubles with some team members who fail to understand my reason until it works. Then they come to the aha moment. Trust your guts. This is a skill that is perfected through practice. The law of use and disuse apply here. This concept only works for leaders who are solution-oriented and hardly focus on the trouble itself rather than the solution to the trouble. They are composed in the midst of storms and never get swayed by what they see around them. This is what we call mental toughness. Learn it and apply it. It will serve you well in your leadership. If you are quiet enough, you will hear the flow of the universe. You will feel its rhythm. Go with this flow. Happiness lies ahead. Meditation is key.
Learning more and more. Be a born-again learner. Always trying to be as general as possible, but mastering your trade. Know a bit of everything. It will serve you right. You do not need to be an expert. Have experts around you, but read widely. Lack of knowledge can be a great disaster. I hate ignorance. To an extent, my study of physics has helped me. Physics has enabled me to be somewhat all around, but able to understand scientific reasoning, analysis, philosophy, and relationships, among others. I frequently get asked where I apply physics, and I have trouble explaining how whatever I do is always in one way or the other related to physics. I still believe that was one of the best decisions I ever made and would not hesitate to encourage leaders to study physics. Well, that is a topic for another day. Strategy. Also keep your brain fit by eating foods for champions. Do physical exercises and avoid excessive alcohol consumption. If possible, avoid alcohol completely. Champions are cautious about their diet and general physical body health. You cannot afford to think in a weak body. Weak body begets weak mind. Unhealthy body, unhealthy mind. Maurice, I'd love to hear your mind.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I got in a bit little. I missed a bit of the beginning, but the point I got in was, at least there was a mention of know a bit of something, or was it everything? But I think it was about knowing, as a leader, you need to know at least something about something, not being an expert, but at least having an idea so that you don't find yourself in complete ignorance. The only challenge I have with such sometimes is that sometimes when you, as a leader, you think you know a bit of everything, sometimes you can also end up commenting on everything, and also sometimes even talking on things that you don't know. So I think the balance for me is to what extent do you listen to other people who are experts around you? In fact, this section is also talking about have people around you are experts. Yeah, so just having a balance between what you are competent in and what you don't know so much, and also being able to listen to other people. The issue about alcohol is also good although other people also have other critiques and balances, and maybe this is also a place where we can have a discussion. Like sometimes big deals are made when people are drinking and they are chatting here and there. So for some of us who are not into drinking, sometimes you find it difficult to socialize with other people, because maybe you go out with people and you're only taking water or sometimes only tea. So you are not able to open up. So I don't know what the other people think. How do you or how do I make it to interact with other people who their way of socializing is maybe when they're taking alcohol? So that was just the balance I wanted to. The writer is saying that stay away from it, but also in reality, I see people who take alcohol being very outgoing and very social. So it is just up for discussion. Maybe that's what I can comment on for now, Lady Noel. Thank you.
Maurice, I think I'd want to point out on something that you said, but before I point out, I'd love someone else to go. OPP, Otieno Paul Peter.
Thank you. Thank you, Noel. I always love the angles that Maurice brings. You know, a long time ago, I used to attend leadership meetings, and you hear that somebody, some people just keep quiet the whole time, and everyone is yes, yes, yes. By the end of the day, no healthy discussion. And then what happens? I used to say, I wouldn't like to be in a meeting that people are like sheep. You know, sheep, one direction one chooses to go, everyone is going there. You see, and by the end of the day, they may not make up the right decisions. It's always healthy to bring in different angles. And so just commenting about them, one is he's talked about learning and getting to know a bit of something. That is very, very critical. And I've had very many instances where that was very helpful. People, by the way, the so-called experts are likely to mislead you. The basic principles don't change. At one point when I was involved in this Nairobi Dam drama, people were bringing in concepts that don't make sense scientifically. Yeah. And because of my knowledge about that concept of how things work, I'm able to relate with the equations, and I'm able to say, no, this doesn't make scientific sense unless you are arguing from theory, and this is not a place for theory, you see. So it's always good to have a bit of everything so that you are not misled, because it's possible that some experts will mislead you deliberately. Again, in order to be able to find an opportunity to comment on things, you remember during elections, leaders are put to TV interviews and they will ask you all sorts of things. If you have no grasp, you will not say, let me go and ask experts. No. You need to have a bit of everything. It's very good. A leader is a generalist. When it comes to dealing with that issue specifically, you will hire the right people to do it, because your role is more of people management. That is the way it works. Again, things to do with alcohol. I love, Noel has talked about proverb, talking about as a man thinketh, and the sum total of our thought being, of ourselves being our thoughts. That's exactly from James Allen's book. We are the sum total of our thoughts. But there is also the proverb that talks about the wisdom of Proverbs 31. They say, and he's told about alcohol, it will impair your judgment. Let them drink, those who are perishing. Let them drink, those who have nothing to lose. But you, it is not for leaders, Nemuel. It is not for leaders. That is the way it is. Alcohol will impair your judgment. Remember, you don't do things to please people. You do things because they are the right things for you. And by the way, it's related to health. And that is what we are also talking about, being, you cannot be an effective leader who is alcoholic. If you remember, at one point, at the start of the book, we mentioned that my dad was a drunkard. Drunkards, nobody wants to seek your opinion, because your drunkardness comes ahead of anything else. You may have good ideas, but you're a drunkard. That's the way it is. So besides impairing your judgment, it also shows how you lead yourself. So you are talking about drinking, which could be something like sharing a drink where people are just talking and discussing things. That's not being a drunkard. And the other thing is, just starting with that point of health, you cannot be effective in an unhealthy body. It's always easy to see leaders who are ineffective. The size of their bodies will tell you. People who are carrying health challenges along the way, by the way, I'm not very afraid to say, Homa Bay governor is one such leader. You cannot be thinking about your weight and health and then you are still effective. All effective leaders are in good physical shape and thinking right. There is no way you're going to have active and healthy mind in a healthy body. But now let's go back to meditation. This concept is one that eludes a lot of leaders. Today, many people love noises. They are always looking for jumpy places, jumpy points. People do not take time to think about the solutions, to think about the future, to think about themselves. And that largely is what has caused Africa to be backward. You see, we are subjects to our thinking and conditioning. And this will determine the future we have. All great leaders have always had an opportunity, always take regular opportunities to meditate. And by the way, when I mentioned there the likes of the likes of JP Morgan, the likes of John D. Rockefeller, and all such people, you'll realize that the solutions they brought up we still use to date. Let me, I know Dr. Eda has issues with Rockefeller. I don't know those, I don't want to get into those issues. We are talking about leadership here in meditation. So the meditation here, you know, this pipeline that we use today, and everyone is talking about pipeline that people are transfer, we are able to transport oil from Mombasa to Uganda to other places. This concept came out of a trouble between Vanderbilt and Rockefeller. Rockefeller was the producer of oil, the paraffin that people were using. If you watch the movie Who Built America, the paraffin was a new invention then. Uh, John D. did not want to be involved in primary production, mining and all these things. So he thought, what is it that I can do with oil and add value so that I am able to be in business and make money? And there was a race of being monopoly and something like that. So he was able to process oil to become paraffin, and that was a new invention. People were very happy to see light at night. And he was transmitting it, he was transporting it all over America using the railway line. The one in charge of transport was Vanderbilt. And because they were racing and somewhat they disagreed at some point, Vanderbilt stopped transporting his oil. And he was with his oil there, production is going on, and he did not know what to do. But because he regularly took time to think, time to meditate, he was walking just within his factory and thinking, and then he saw pipes moving oil from one end to the other, one end to the other in the processing. And then he said, why not use these pipes? And they started building it. And they built it across America. And Vanderbilt was feeling really defeated, because by the end of the day, this was his biggest customer, but he chose to kill him. But in that particular situation, this guy became even more powerful and built pipelines across America. And that's why today we have pipelines. The same thing, if you think about Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, that is when he meditated much, knew what was happening, and he kept reciting what is popularly known as the Invictus. The Invictus. It's a very, very powerful poem. Out of the night that covers me black as the pit from the pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unquenchable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstances, I have not whined nor cried aloud. Under the burgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. He kept meditating on that year and year, time and again, and he was able to emerge victorious. We must know the power of meditation as leaders. If you think of Henry Ford, that is the way he came up with the engine that engineers could not. Now, this is going back to the expert thing that Maurice was bringing. Engineers said it's impossible to bring that, scientifically impossible. But through meditation, he gets flash of insight from the infinite intelligence, from the all-knowing. And he was able to see that this is something that will be done. And he insisted on it. And by the end of the day, it was produced and it became a revolution. That is the same way Albert Einstein was able to come up with the revolution, the theory of relativity, which has revolutionized the world. And today, you can't imagine what we could be without it. You see, so these things, and we know that Jesus withdrew from time to time to a lonely place to think, to meditate. Meditation, by the way, I dare say, is the greatest form of prayer. That is when prayers get answered, because you think about exactly what you're looking for, you meditate on a particular matter, and you come up with a solution. All great leaders, read their book, read about them. You will realize that they meditate. And so it's very important that we take that home. Another thing is about learning, born again learner. What is it that they are learning if they're not becoming general? You learn about different subjects, you learn about different matters, you learn about different problems, you learn about people. And it's said that as leaders grow in ladder, they stop learning much about the technical, but they learn about the soft part. They learn about people. Your study, maybe you are an engineer, and most of you probably already know about, I remember the name, but he had an engineer, Charles Schwarz. And this Charles Schwarz, who was just an engineer, learned so well how to deal with people that the company became most profitable and the richest of all the countries, of all the companies. You see, so dealing with people is a great skill. And as Dale Carnegie, that was the Carnegie. As Carnegie would say, Andrew Carnegie then, that I would pay anything for it. And that is what we call leadership. All the people who study project management will tell you that it's easier to manage things. But when it comes to managing people so that projects can run in time, projects can run within budget, it's the most difficult part. And so studying again and again, and that's why John Maxwell says, learning and leadership are indispensable to each other. Let me stop there for now.
Thank you so much. I even wanted to tell you to stop there. Anyway, just kidding. Okay, so I wanted to say something on meditation. You see, it's not a must that if you're meditating, you now go say, Sasa, from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., I will be seated down meditating. No, I am this one person who I'll say God and myself has learned how to withdraw from people when I am with people. I can be so busy, and even in a very noisy matatu, I will be in my own world, just meditating and doing my own thing in my own world. Even at home, you'll come, and I'm this one person who is always meditating. So you do not have an excuse to say that I do not have time to just meditate. No, you can meditate from anywhere at any time, at night, during the day, when you're working, when you're doing what, you can meditate. Someone else, Irene Gachoki, karibu sana, and kindly share your mind on the same.
Thank you. I think the thing that has hit me the most, what Paul has said about leaders, about meditating, and it's sort of a prayer. Because most of the time, like for myself, I always assume that once you pray, that's the end of it. But now I'm coming to the realization that for your prayers to be answered also, you need to think about it, think about the exact things that you want. And as you're meditating on it, you'll get other solutions that will come about. Maybe the thing you're praying for, you may meditate upon it and it may lead you to a different direction. So I don't have any other comments, just I have found my aha moment today. Thank you.
Okay, karibu sana, karibu organization. And as OPP has said, it is so true. These experts can really lie to you. Kwanza auditors. I'm sorry if there's an auditor here, or people will just come and then they will exaggerate things. They will tell you things that are not even possible. Like I was working with a certain guy to get a certain certificate for the organization. And when I called him, he's a lawyer, and he was like, oh, that thing is so hard to get. It is the hardest thing to get. You'll have to do so much. You'll have to do this and this and that. And he's like, okay, so what is your decision? So it's like he is pushing me to make a decision at that time. I'm just thinking, wait a minute. Kindly do not push me to make this decision. I will do it when I feel like I want to do it. So I decided, no, let me talk to someone else to educate me on the same. And when I talked to this other lawyer, Mr. Charles Kanjama, he was like, that is so easy. Like, that is something that is going to take you not more than 2 hours and you will be done with this thing. I was like, okay. So this guy wanted to milk money from the organization. Actually, he was telling us to pay him like 70K. And you see, Mr. Kanjama is there. He gave us he gave me expert counsel and everything. And he did it for us pro bono. So Elsie Kagimbi, kindly, you are here since we began. I'd love to hear your mind.
Morning, can I say something?
Sure, Catherine.
Okay, I was trying to unmute. I've come in a bit late, but I've been able to grasp a lot. And I remember the gentleman who was saying that maybe sometimes you're out in a club, you're not taking beer, and the other people are taking beer. How do you socialize? I know it's a bit hard, but normally, even as Paul has said, it's when you know your content and maybe why you are even hanging out together. So you are still able to hold a conversation even when you are sober and the other people are high. Then for today's session, it's very, very motivating. Actually, Peter Paul, I would have wanted you to go on and on and on. I will chat you by the side and you give me those tips. But what I'm getting from these sessions every day is that for you to be a leader, you have to be intentional. For you to be a leader, you have to take the bold step that nobody is willing to take. For you to be a leader, you have to execute. And what I've come to notice is that most people will have big strategy, most people will have good presentation, but what misses is the execution. So my message today to everybody is execute, execute. Last week, I saw a quote that said, if you have a vision, but you do not execute, you are just hallucinating. So let us execute. Normally what I do, like every day I say, I might only push one thing, but I'll push it to the end. So if I'm running with one project, if it's today, Monday, I know at least this one is going to be done end to end. And that way you just take small steps, but they are sure so that you are not running with so many things and nothing gets executed. Thank you for that. Over to you.
In my life, I have been meditating the whole of my life, and I learned that an idea can disturb me for many years, but then one day it pops up. The answer to that question pops up, and it becomes my aha moment. I feel like I've gotten it. By the way, I meditate on very mundane things sometimes. And when I was a child growing up, I meditated about life. Why do people live? Why do we have, what is life? Am I really living or I'm not existing? Where did I come from and where am I going? What will happen if I'm not there? When I die, is there some, this thing people talking about heaven, what evidence do they have? Yeah, I meditated about God. Does he really exist? And those are things that troubled me for years. And they trouble me until I come to an answer that my soul feels like this is it. You see, I meditated about why people uh, can study and they still fail to make it in life. I meditated why others are rich, others are poor. I meditate on lots of things, and those are just the general ones. There are those ones also that are also personal. And all my decisions are hardly made out of knowledge and expertise. And by the way, most times I am right in my decision. There is no single decision that I've made in life that I regret. Never, never. All my decisions, I'm proud of them. If I had to redo everything again, I would do them like that. I would still make those decisions. At times, and I mentioned there that the decisions you will come up with, they are not necessarily logical. They will not make sense. But along the way, they are going to make sense. You see? So when we meditate, somewhat we are communicating and communing with the infinite intelligence, the all-knowing. We are communing with God because all knowledge on earth is from God. There is nowhere else. This study and all these things, at some point I was meditating. Where do people get the knowledge that they write in the books? Where did they come from? I've meditated literally about everything. And not long ago, I've been meditating on an idea I call the theory of convergence. That everything has to somewhat come to some convergence. And it doesn't matter what knowledge, which discipline, at some point there should be a convergence. And it's something that took me quite some time, and I keep getting it revealed a day at a time, or after some point. Like right now, I think last year, or no, when people were going towards elections last time, I arrived where foolishness and wisdom meet. You see, so sometimes I meditate about funny things, but they make a lot of sense for me. So get to know that, as Noel was saying, we do not have to close ourselves somewhere in a closet and meditate. Meditation is something that you will keep it in your mind and you're searching, your soul searching. By the way, I think that is how St. Augustine of Hippo came up with the idea that my soul was searching, restless all over until it found rest in you. I was looking for you everywhere, only to realize that you are here. You see, because of meditation, that is the way we reach it. And as Irene is trying to say, and I commented about that with respect to prayer, many people do not know how to pray, unfortunately. But I'm not going to go to that. That's why many people will pray and then they came up with the theory that God can say no, wait, and yes. There is nothing like that. Even the Bible says, for Jesus, it's always yes. That is it. So this concept of God say, that is some preachers trying to explain their own situations or lack of understanding, or trying to soothe people. But there is nothing like that. And you will get that through meditation. We do not want to talk about prayer because that is another topic that I love. So I remember we also discussed about when to be silent and how to communicate. We must always read all these things in perspective. And this one goes back to what Maurice was saying about knowledge and all these other things when people speak and how they regulate. If we have learned communication, which we learned previously as one of the tools when we were discussing tools, and all these other things, they come up into perspective. And we say that there are people who want to be leaders or who claim to be leaders, but they don't read. They're learning nothing new. We say champions feed on fresh stuff, fresh food. In fact, if you read this common thing that keeps going around about the attributes of an ego that make it apart from the rest, is it partakes of fresh flesh. You see, so if we do not read, then we can be sure that we are going to be extinct. We are going to be stale. We must keep learning. We must keep reading. And that doesn't mean you are reading necessarily something new. It could be like others read scripture. Somebody has talked about dreaming. And I asked, what is the first step to achieving your dream? The first step, I've asked people this many times and they will tell you many things. And here is it, because there is no time. The first step is to wake up. Execution, yeah. Catherine was talking about execution. You must wake up out of that slumber, out of this dream and all these things, and start working on it.